A few weeks ago, I started posting to my other YouTube channel again in sort of an ongoing effort to revive it. And for this, I wanted a simple logo intro that points to my Twitch channel, just to say, hey, come check me out on Twitch too. But I didn't want it to be super intrusive, like the typical dubstep 3D text flying around the screen intros that you see in front of every single shitty montage on YouTube. You know the ones. So I created a simple, unique logo pop-up, and in practice, it looks something like this. It's so much worse the second time. First and foremost, you all know that I am susceptible to Facebook advertising, and honestly, I really like how this turned out. It's clean, it's simple, and it gets the point across in under 3 seconds. Now, I personally made mine in After Effects, but it's also doable in Blender. So this week, I have a customizable template for you to make one of these yourself. It looks something like this, and all you have to do is download Blender, link in the description, download the Blender file from the Discord, link also in the description, and follow along. And if you like the free graphics, the absolute best way for you to show your support for the channel is to hit that like and subscribe button below the video, and ring the bell, and it'll even let you know when there's cool new stuff for you to check out on the channel. Also, if you want to help me put an end to shitty dubstep intros on YouTube, make sure you share this with your friends too. That being said, let's get started. My name is Chris Folea, I'm your stream scholar. Welcome to StreamSchool. Alright, when you first open the Blender file, it should look pretty similar to this. And the very first thing you're going to want to do is come up here and click the shiny circle button. That'll put this viewport into rendered preview mode so you can see your animated logo pop up as you're working on it. Then, if you want to see it animate, you can just hit space on your keyboard, and you'll notice that it plays through. So it pops up, reveals the text, and then it goes away. You can hit space to stop that. And then for working on this, you're probably going to want to grab the playhead here and drag it back to frame 70, because that's when everything is most visible for you to work on. So the first thing you're probably going to want to work on is replacing your logo here with your logo. And I've made that pretty easy. Just click your logo here, go down to the materials panel, then where it says your, click the X, hit open, and find your logo. So for the sake of this video, let's advertise this YouTube channel. So I'm gonna grab the StreamSchool logo. And you'll notice that this is actually too short for the backdrop here, and we'll fix that in just a minute. But the next thing you probably wanna customize is your username with your username. So you can click your username, notice it highlights in orange. Then you can go up here where it says object mode and swap that to edit mode, or just hit tab on your keyboard. Then you can hit backspace a bunch of times to delete it, just like in any other text editing application. Then you can type whatever your username is. So I'll type Oracles StreamSchool. And you'll notice that gets cut off, but we'll fix that in just a second too. So then we can go back to the dropdown, go back to object mode, or just hit tab on your keyboard. And let's make this fit. So we could use the standard gizmos or hotkeys. So S for scale to scale it, G for grab to move it until this fits. Just keep doing both of those until it fits. Or if you like the size of the Twitch logo, you also have some options within the text panel. So if you click the text panel down here and scroll down, you'll notice you can change the size here, or you can also change the offset if you want to move it around a little bit relative to the logo. So another thing you might want to do is change the font of your text, and that's also under the text panel right here. So if you hit X on where it says regular, then hit open and browse to wherever your font is. Mine is under a folder I made called Google Fonts. I'm gonna use Paytone 1 because I think that looks pretty cool. But you can use whatever font you want here. And then you can customize it using all of these commands. And feel free to play with these. You can shear it, you can do all sorts of stuff. You can change the character spacing. You can really do whatever you want. But I'm just gonna mess with the size a little bit and maybe offset it a little bit on the Y, or not. But then I'm just gonna use the hit S on my keyboard to scale it, G to move it, just to line it up nice and neat. So then I promised we would get back to the logo scale, and before we get to the colors here, it's probably important to line everything up the way we like it. So to manipulate the position and size of the logo, you can click this circle right here that has a cross going through it. Then you can use your movement widgets right here. This is move, this is scale, this is rotate. Or you can just use the hotkeys, which is what I prefer. So S for scale, G for grab, R for rotate. But I'm just gonna scale this up a little bit. If I scale it all the way up here, you'll notice the logo gets a little bit big for what we really want here. So I'm just gonna scale this up a little bit. And then I added a control to make this whole thing shorter or narrower. So if you select this circle right here, you can grab the green arrow that appears and you can move this down. So now the logo is tall enough and this all matches up pretty well. Might even take this and scale it down and move it just to line everything up a bit nicer. Then, since we're on the physical controls already, we can also make this border match the width of the border on the logo. So if we click this double arrow icon that I added here, and then drag this, we can make the border thicker or thinner. Just like that. So now that I'm happy more or less with this shape, let's get back to the color controls. So after we've manipulated the logo and the text here, we have border color. So if we select that, go to the materials panel. I'm gonna make mine white, but you can make yours whatever color you want. Then we have gradient 1, which affects the first color of the gradient. I'm gonna make that like a nice pink. Then we have gradient 2, which affects the second color of the gradient. I'll make that a dark purple. Then we have BG opacity, or background opacity. Opacity is how opaque an object is, or how transparent it's not. So if we click BG opacity, make sure we're under the item tab right here, then go down to where it says BG opacity. We can slide that to fade the background in and out. I added this just in case you want this to be a little bit see-through for whatever your application is. I'm personally going to leave it alone, but just know that the option is there. Then we have a text color, which I'm going to leave mine as white, but if you go to the materials panel, you can change that to whatever you want. Then we also have a logo color, which you probably want to stay within the brand usage guidelines for individual logos, but you can change it to whatever you want technically. I'm going to leave it white again, because that's usually within brand guidelines. And after we get past the color controls, there are a few more customizability options here. For one, I'm advertising a YouTube channel, so a Twitch logo doesn't fit that horribly well. So if we go up here to the right where the collections are, you'll notice I have a collection titled logos. So if I drop that down, you'll notice I have Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can check through these for whichever social media account you want to advertise with this. And everything will still animate correctly. It'll just have a different logo. So I'm going to use the YouTube logo since this is a YouTube channel. And then you'll notice that this is no longer centered super well with the logo. So I'll select the text, go to the text panel, and then I will offset it. Just like that. And I think that looks pretty cool. So now if I hit space, I can see the entire thing play. Logo pops up, everything pops in. And those are the basic, I guess there's one more control here. If you select this circle, you can move it around to adjust the gradient, or you can also rotate it or scale it to adjust the gradient. Just in case you want to move that around or make it an horizontal gradient or something. But in terms of the controls that I've included, that's basically it. But you can customize this further if you want to get creative with it. So for one, let's say you want to animate the logo a little bit. You could take this control, have it start over here, insert a location keyframe, then have it move over here, insert a location keyframe. So now you have stuff that animates. Or what if you want to do a different backdrop rather than I'm just undoing everything, sorry. What if you want to do a different backdrop rather than just a colored gradient? Like what if you want a cool texture there? Well, I have the 3D cursor set below where it needs to be by default. So you can just do like a file, import images as planes, then you can add whatever you want as the backdrop. So for instance, what if I want like a cool concrete texture? I'm gonna import this as an emission texture, import images as planes. You'll notice that it comes in. I might want to scale that up by hitting S on my keyboard. Then maybe I could customize the color of this over in the node editor. And again, I'm not going to go super in depth on how to do all of this right now because this gets a bit more advanced, but just know that if you want to mess around with this stuff, you absolutely can. So I might make this darker and I might make this like a nice pink. And now we have like a cool concrete backdrop rather than the gradient. So just know that these are all options. You can really customize this much further than you could anticipate. One other control I added here is this. I don't know if I went over this or not already, but we can change the border width just to match the logo a bit better. And overall, I think this looks pretty cool in terms of pop-up animation. So let's take this into video editing software like Premiere. And most, the video editing applications are all going to be different. The one I'm familiar with is Premiere, but there are similar features to everything that I'm about to show you in DaVinci Resolve. But first of all, let's talk about render settings. And I released a video going in depth on this last week, but by default, this will put out as a PNG image sequence, meaning this is going to render out 145 image files. And trust me, when you're working in video editing software, that is ideal. I would recommend you go watch my video that talks about this from last week. But if you're taking this into video editing software, leave this file format stuff alone. If you're going to use this pop-up in OBS, this needs to be a video file. And the file format I recommend for that is WebM. So you can go to File Format dropdown, FFmpeg Video. In coding, you want to change that to WebM, and video codec to WebM VP9. And then audio codec, if you added audio, is going to be Vorbis. But oh, and make sure you do RGBA too. But we're taking this into video editing software, so I'm gonna leave this as a PNG sequence with transparency. Then output, I'm gonna select the folder, go to maybe editing drive, StreamSchool, logo pop-up, working, and then I'll do SS popup _ 001. You want to make a new folder if you're working with image sequences. Double click that. Do SS popup _ 001 dot #####. This will be replaced with the frame number dot PNG. Hit enter, enter. Then go to render animation. It'll render out the entire thing. It'll look pretty cool. Give this a second. Now that that's rendered out, let's say we want to use this pop-up to transition between two different video clips in Premiere. And again, you can do all of this in DaVinci Resolve as well, I'm pretty sure. Premiere is just my go-to video editing software. But you can just do File, Import, and then select your image sequence. You want to find an image file, so I put mine SS popup 1. Select the first image, make sure image sequence is checked. Hit open. That'll import your image sequence. You can go, notice how it says 29.97 frames per second. This is actually a 60 frames per second image sequence. So we can right click that, go to modify, interpret footage, say assume this frame rate, and type in 60. Hit OK. Then you can just drag it over here like normal footage. And we probably want this to be centered on the transition. And you'll notice it's a little bit big, so I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna say set to frame size because I rendered this out at 1920 by 1080, but I'm working at 1280 by 720 because that's what I stream at for not being partner reasons. That pops up, and we can make this even a little bit classier, but you'll notice it plays through just fine, which is exactly what we want. But to make this fade a little bit more naturally, I like to blur out the background to really bring the attention to this. So what I might do is select the folder I want to put this in, hit New, Adjustment Layer, hit OK, drag that into place, cut it so it matches up with our transition. Then we can give this a nice Gaussian blur. Gaussian? I don't know how to pronounce it, honestly. I found 125 works pretty well. Repeat edge pixels. So then we can go to about here where the whole thing's popped up. Add a keyframe. Go back to the beginning. Set blurriness to 0. Go to the end. Set blurriness to 0. Go back a little bit. Set blurriness to 125. Then we want to fade between these two clips, so we can just do a cross dissolve. Plug that in there. Select it, maybe set that to 2 seconds long. Then we just hit play, and you'll notice it transitions between the two clips while it draws attention to the logo. And you can go to sequence render in to out if you want to see it at full resolution. It just takes a little bit of time to render the thing out. Cool, just like that, we have it pop up, Oracles StreamSchool, then it goes away. One other thing you might want to do to really bring it off the backdrop is add a drop shadow. So just go to the effects, drop shadow, and I don't actually know, like, again, I'm not super familiar with DaVinci Resolve. Premiere is my jam. Premiere and After Effects are my jam. Yeah, it's a little bit further away. I don't know why that is so laggy. Hit softness. Something like that. Looks nice. Play it. Got the thing pop up. Transitions, clips, and then it goes away. Anyway, that is how you customize and use the logo pop-up in video editing software. And feel free to get creative here. I do the blurred out background. You could also have it like fade to a color or something in the backdrop, or you could have it get really bright and then like overexposed to transition. You can do all sorts of things. I just found that the blurred background looks nice for me. But just animating an adjustment layer like that, you can do all sorts of really cool transition effects. Play with it, have fun with it, but that's pretty much all there is to it. Hopefully at this point you have a cool new logo pop-up to use on your YouTube videos or wherever. If you have any questions or just want to come hang out, I'm live every Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday at twitch.tv/oraclefishlive. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below the video for new content every single week. Until next time, my name is Chris Folea, I'm your stream scholar, and class is out.